Alright, hello, welcome back everybody, it's Aces with another update video here, this time touching on different aspects of things that I've incorporated into the setup since my last videos, changes I've made, cool things I've done, and kind of giving you ideas that you can kind of do for your own setups here, your own arcades. For this done, I'm going to be talking about incorporating a Steamdeck and how that sort of works in this setup here, and cool ways that you can go about thinking about things like, a little bit outside the box, and ways you can approach different types of emulation for consoles that are a little bit more finicky to kind of use on like a setup like this here, where you're doing it on like an arcade cabinet, or like I have here more like a little home entertainment area where you can just play everything. So with the Steam Deck, what I'm going to be doing here, what's essentially happening is, first in the bottom left, you see there's another new screen. On the new screen, this is streaming what's on the Steam Deck here, as you can see. Currently I just have it playing like fan art from each section. So if I'm in console, so it'll be like a console game fan art. But beyond that, what I'm going to be doing here with this is that it's actually using something called Apollo Sunshine. Apollo Sunshine is it's a streaming service where it's basically creating a virtual monitor. So right now this Steam Deck is essentially a monitor for the arcade setup here, and it's going to be streaming whatever I want to stream onto it. But what I'm going to be streaming onto here are the more unique systems to emulate, and that's going to be, first of all, the WiiU is what I'll start off with on the console section. So Apollo, you can download for free. It'll just basically be a quick setup on a computer. It needs a transmitter, essentially the computer, and a receiver, a Steam Deck. You can use anything. It doesn't really have to be a Steam Deck, but I mean, that's just what I have here. But anything that can run Apollo or Sunshine, you can use for this, and it's going to be also a controller. So what I'm actually controlling with this here is actually with the Steam Deck, so it's kind of like an X input controller right now is what it's mimicking. And with that, you can kind of use it. And maybe you're already kind of picturing what I'm going to be using it for in regards to the WiiU. And with the WiiU, it's going to be actually mimicking a WiiU console, or the deck, or whatever the WiiU itself was called. So with the WiiU deck, it would also stream a video, a totally separate thing of what's going on. So your main screen could be showing something, and your bottom screen, or the WiiU deck, could be showing something else. It's kind of like the Nintendo DS and 3DS, which I'll also show after this. But with that, you can actually mimic that behavior through the Steam Deck. Now, the Steam Deck's actually really cool because it has like tilt sensors and things like that. So just like the Wii U, certain games, actually a lot more than I thought, surprisingly, use that tilt feature. I'll start off with something that's really blatant. Star Fox, I'll show it off. You can actually mimic that behavior on the Steam Deck too. Sound, the sound will be coming through whatever would be on the Wii U deck itself too. I will be streaming just that sound out of the Wii U, out of the Steam Deck. So it really mimics that experience really well. Like the actual sounds will be still coming through your setup here. Well, I could have it go through my speakers to my headset. Another cool thing, I can have it, like right now the Steam Deck is showing the 3D box. I don't know, it's just kind of cool. So what we're going to do here is go down to Star Fox, let's say. Let's launch Star Fox 0, because I know that game uses the tilt function for sure. So we're going to launch it. Now, one of the things I'm going to be leveraging here is something I talk about in a lot of my other videos, and that's using the Launch With section and the additional apps and versions. Maybe not the additional apps and versions for this in particular, but with Launch With, you can actually configure a whole bunch of different emulators, whatever you would like to use to launch the game with. Now, with my other videos here, it kind of goes into more in depth about how this sort of all works. Everything's more like a one-time process to launch. So right now, if I go through and I try to launch Super Mario 3D World, whatever, it'll set up the last setup that I want to have run, and it'll clear back to its defaults. Every section has its own sort of default, but normally it comes down to running the X input, because those are usually the most default controllers I use. So that will be things like the 8-bit Do Pro 2, one of my favorite controllers, really cool. Also, because the Steam Deck is touchscreen, the touchscreen will be mimicked also. I don't know if too many Wii U games used it. It's more like a 3DS thing, really. Or DS type stuff, which I'll show after. So we're going to do launch with. I have a CMU configured specifically for the Steam Deck and the WiiU screen. Now OBS is running in the background, recording this, so I'm not too sure if it's going to mess with my scripts and how I have things set up, but I don't think it should. But I guess we'll find out. So what will be happening is that the WiiU main screen will be up at the front there. The WiiU touchpad and whatever it would stream would be down here. Now for Star Fox, it's mostly the same thing. I could show Twilight, not Twilight Princess, Hyrule Warriors, I think it is. That's the first one that comes off to my head that visually has different information on both. But the cool thing I can show with this is the tilt functions that you can incorporate. Now, getting the tilt working is actually a little bit more complicated than just setting up Apollo or Sunshine. The tilt function is something that you need to actually download and set up another plugin. So you download EmuDeck, and one of the things that EmuDeck installs on the Steam Deck is something like a gyro something. So you set up the gyro software in it, and it's going to be streaming to a server. Now the good thing is that after you set it up once, it'll remember those settings, so you don't have to do that again. But then after that, it just always runs in the background. You don't even have to launch it again or do anything specific. You just go ahead and play like you normally would, and it's going to do things like this for any game that has the tilts functions. But this makes things like this feel a million times more natural than you would, using a controller or anything else, because you actually have the WiiU console here. It's actually really cool. Like I said, I don't think this uses much touch screen, so I can't really show that in this game, but I'll show it later. It does work, which is actually really neat too. So that's one of the cool things you can set up, streaming for WiiU. And I'll quickly show Hyrule Warriors because that has the actual dual screens, kind of different. Let's see, Hyrule Warriors. So again, we're going to go launch with, we're going to go Steam Deck WiiU screen. We hope that OBS won't mess with any of the things in the background, which I guess if it didn't for the last one, it shouldn't for this one either. Yeah, there we go. So actually, I think maybe this one you might even do. I don't know if you can see the dots showing up on the recording. Yeah. But what we're gonna do is like legend mode. Oh, right. It's flipped. A's are B's, B's are A's. Okay. Yes, skip cutscene. I just wanted to show that it's two different things across. There you go. So you can see now that the Steam Deck is being used as like the WiiU would be, which is I think mostly like showing the map of what's kind of going on the screen there. Really cool. And then yeah, you control it with this, and it just works and plays like you would be having a WiiU. So yeah, I mean that's the main thing I wanted to show. That's really cool that you can set up something like this. Yeah, let's move on to the next set of next systems here to kind of show with this. Again, it's one button quick. I do it on the keyboard that I have here. You can also do it up on the arcade panel. Absolutely everything that is on here, you can be quit with this one button up here. That's for every system, every game, everything quits with that one button. But if I don't feel like going up there, you can press escape here. Things like RetroArch has its own command, and I try to mimic it for most emulators to be the same, so you can quit on a controller, but since I have alternatives, I don't get too concerned with it. Also, I love the music in the background again. This is using OC remix songs. There's like 4,300 songs. They'll just play something random each time unless you go over a game, and then the game has specific music, it'll play that music instead. But OC remix, fantastic stuff. I always try to bring it up in my videos. So I think that's the only way I kind of really leveraged this in particular for like the consoles. I was thinking of like setting up something where you would like have everything streaming to the Steam Deck, so you can like go ahead and if you're away somewhere traveling, you can remote in, or just being around in the house here, you can walk around and just play the entire arcade cabinet remotely through here. There's no real latency. It's actually really fantastic. But I just didn't set that up yet. I don't know. It's not too hard, but I'll think about it. For now, it's just mainly focused on the more logical things. So now we're going to move on to the handhelds, which is where it's really used well. Before I show 3DS, because it also has another cool feature I'll talk about, I'll focus on the DS so I can show how things like the touchpad works on here to mimic things. Because now, again, like if you're doing a DS, okay, great, you can play it on the single screen, you can have the hybrid screen set up, or like the way that I have it here, you can have it on multiple monitors, but they're not really touch screen. So you can play like those games that kind of scroll around a little bit, but can't really, it's just not the same. So what you can do is, because I know Kirby uses it a lot, Kirby Canvas Curse, which I always thought was Canvas Course. So strange. But it's Canvas Curse. So what we're going to be doing again, so I leverage these things again. I'll talk about them more in other videos, but where I probably have in the past. Launch with are more like the emulators that I can use. So if I want to use something like Melon DS, I have that set up here. Or I have RetroArch. RetroArch is going to be set up more in the hybrid fashion, so both screens are on the like one big screen, so you can like swap back and forth, and it's just easier for that. Melon DS is more of the different configuration where it's like top screen and then bottom screen would be like either on the left or the right. Oops, and I launched it. I didn't really want to launch it. I'm kind of flailing my hands around here. But you'll see here like it's going to be loading in Melon DS. And you can see that it's on the bottom there. So it's being recorded too. But you see the top and you see the bottom. And with this, you can't really play a game like Kirby Canvas Course because, you have your controllers, but you can't really do much with that. So what we're going to do now is quit out of this. And we'll launch what I intended to do. First, we're going to go back. So additional apps and versions is what I mean by you can configure things differently. So if I wanted Melon to be on the bottom screen, so that'd be the bottom screen here. Or I can launch it on the left screen, just left screen here. So that would be like the bottom screen. You can still like press a button to swap the screens back and forth, which I'll show, but like that's just for default stuff. But you can leverage additional apps and versions to run different configurations on all your different emulators. So for me, I'm going to go launch with, I'm going to go Melon DS Steamdeck. So yeah, I don't think there's anything else really to show. Oh, actually, the cool thing, just to bring up, on the bottom here is always going to be the game cart. I think that's super cool because it feels like you're actually slotting a game in there. So like right now, slotted in there is Kirby Canvas Course. You can see the cart. And that's going to be carts for like Super Nintendo or Genesis or CDs if you're doing Sega CDs. So it's always going to be like the actual cartridge. I think it's super cool to actually even just see it, but also to kind of visually have it like it's playing from the deck there. So yeah, we're going to be launching this. Again, I hope OBS doesn't really mess with my scripting. It should just toss it straight onto the Steam Deck again. Yep, that's what it did. Which is cool because you can actually see the difference, because when I launched it, Melon DS through the normal way, it actually had the screen at the bottom there. Now it actually has it here like I actually wanted it. I have my stylus. You can see that, touch to start, do file 1, let's say. Yeah, sure. Go main game. No, I don't really need training mode. You can touch here. But now you're playing like you would be playing on a DS. I mean, it's a large DS, but you're playing it like you would be on a DS. So you can like draw your course here. You can tap. You also do things like swapping the screens. So if you ever wanted it to kind of go whomp, go right up there, and then kind of like do the touch screen here, which this really wouldn't work on a regular DS, but if you ever just want to focus on something, you can do that. But it works really great. You got your touch screen going here, and boom, boom boom pow. You're playing a DS emulated in some sort of a sensible fashion. Now, I mean, a lot of people do this with like Thors, where you can kind of have like an actual dual screen, like handheld. You could probably figure out. I'm pretty sure you can like run Apollo maybe. Then you can like figure out a way to like stream both down there and just kind of like womp it into there. So that would be really cool too. Maybe in the future I might pick up an Thor, figure that out, so you can always just kind of have that emulated so it's right there, both screens, much easier. But this way it is here now, you can like look up, you can look down, you can swap screens. It's really cool. And again, yeah, so working. Really cool to see. Again, then we just quit. And every time, excuse me, every time that you quit out of a game, it'll reset the settings back to normal. In this in particular, there's nothing really normal. I think maybe it's like the bottom screen down there is like the default configuration, but if you're doing things like later on, I talk about in my other videos, the Super Nintendo, it has like shaders and things like that you can like set. Then the next time you quit, it'll go back to the normal setup, so you don't have like 100 games with different configurations randomly in the different controllers configurations. It's kind of neat. So we're going to be quitting out of this now and showing the next cool thing that you can incorporate using this and like thinking outside the box. Going into the 3DS. Now, 3DS is really cool because what we have here is this is a 3D TV. With a lot of emulators, it was news to me. They can actually emulate and perform 3D things. So I'll probably branch that off into another video to kind of like just focus on the 3D stuff. But you can do 3D in lots of different things, like the Wii, GameCube, 3DS, Virtual Boy, anything that was basically like a 3D system, and even not a 3D system, but like the emulators will be able to do a 3D, will work. So for now, I'm just going to be focusing on the Steamdeck, so I'll show off the 3DS, probably branch that off later. So one of the cool things with this here, let's do, well, 3D Classics. I mean, yeah, and then I'll show something else really about how the other things work. So I'll show off the 3D Classics because the 3D on this is actually really cool. So they actually remade a bunch of old games like Streets of Rage 2, Streets of Rage, and gave it like a 3D setting to it. It is phenomenal. Honestly, it just really catches you off guard, even if you've never even tried it on a real 3DS. It's just as cool to be able to do that here. Now, this is where I'm going to be leveraging all the different stuff that I mentioned here, which is the additional apps and versions. So these are like the tweaks that I kind of call it. So launch with are more like the emulators that you can launch something with, different types of controllers that you would use. And additional apps and versions are the tweaks that you apply to those emulators to kind of do different things. So for this one here, with Asahar is what I'm using for the 3D mode. You can do, the default is the 2D mode, so the 2D mode will just be, playing, on one big screen and then like another screen on the bottom there. So that would just be for like X input controllers or just, if you want to do like a nice whatever, just play something in 2D. What we're going to be doing here is running the 3D mode. The filters fix, it's like a lot of games if you apply a texture filter onto them, it actually warps it. Streets of Rage 2 is actually one of them, but I already have everything under the 3D Classics set to launch the texture filter fix. It's just FYI, like older games, and some games in general in Asahar, if you apply texture filtering, just are buggered. The graphics are just broken. But so now what I'm going to be doing is launching the second screen. It's going to be in 3D now too. So hopefully again OBS doesn't mess with my scripts. We'll see. But this should technically launch it down here. And nope, looks like for this one it tossed it onto the other screen there. Unfortunate. Not the biggest thing, because whatever, I'll just show it off later. Actually, no. You know what? I think if I quit out of this, it'll probably launch it fine the next time. It's just the window order, because it sends things like Alt tabs, like Alt enters, and things like that. So do it one more time. If this fails, I'm just going to move on. The way I have everything set up here is everything always cleans itself up. So there's never going to be a situation if you're actually on here without like OBS running and all these other things that I'm running for the stream. It doesn't ever have that, so it's not really something to be worried about. But with this here, it'll just go ahead and sort of work. It's still tossing it down there. Whatever, we're just going to move on. So what's going to be showing on the screen there is you can see the two split screens. So that's going to be side by side. So what I need to do here is because the TV is in 3D, what you do is you click the 3D button, go into 3D mode, pick side by side. You're probably not seeing, well, you can maybe see on the webcam. So now what you're seeing here, on the stream itself, you probably still see the two screens there. But you take a look at the webcam in the bottom right, you can see the TV is kind of blurry. So what you do is you take one of these bad boys. This is the 3D glasses. You pop that bad boy on, and you start playing. And everything is going to be in 3D on your screen there. Yeah, so we can do things like max. And I mean, this isn't going to be very visually interesting, but on the TV it's in 3D. So right now it's like a 75-inch 3D with really cool depth. Like these 3D classics, the way that they made them, it actually has everything layered. You can probably visually see the sprites. You can see the lamppost there in the front. You can see the mailbox there. You can see how it's kind of scrolling even. So I mean, like even now you can like visually picture what it sort of must look like, because that would be like the big foreground, scrolling with you. It just looks fantastic to have a 3D effect on something like this. But we can quit out of this, and then turn off 3D mode on the TV. I have the TV set to kind of detect when it has a side-by-side image and then just apply the 3D effect. But I think, I don't know, like there was some sort of problem with that where it just would always like go back and forth. So I just thought I'd do it manually and it just works. The other cool thing is like you could do things like gyro. That should work here too. I wonder if I can maybe even just launch something like... What uses gyro on the 3DS? Mario Tennis, maybe? I think, anyway. Mario Tennis Open, I'm pretty sure it does. Now let's see if this works here. I'm actually kind of curious. I don't know if I set it up. So right now, we're not going to be running any of these, because right now it should be defaulted to TD mode. And because we're launching it with the Steamdeck, it should just kind of pop down. Well, again, should. We'll see if that does it. I guess I could have like alt-tabbed and maybe change the window order. But, oh well, too late now. Cruising on. Ah, shoot. Okay, I saw what it did there. Yeah, that was my alt-tab tossing it over to the other window. So what we'll do here is just go File 1. Oops. We can probably do single player. I mean, does it... I guess it's not going to do it. Maybe there was like an intro mode. Ah, yeah, welcome to the World Cup, blah, blah, blah. And then you pick a character, and then you sort of... It's the game. I think there's like a little intro. Maybe there is, maybe there's not. Ah, there we go. So you can see here the actual tilt functions and the side-by-side, just like how Mario Tennis would use it. I think the way the game worked, like if you held your 3DS flat like this, it would be just using it like a regular mode. The cool thing is that you can see, well, unfortunately here is on the left monitor, but you would just be tapping it on the Steamdeck, so you can like tap lob, tap simple shot, like you're seeing there, and it'll actually work really well. So, I don't know, it just mimics like a really big 3DS. But yeah, it works, so you can get the tilt sensors and everything else going and set up. It's really cool. The other normal way that you would be doing something when well, I mean, I guess it's not too visually interesting to just show like X input, but like if you just tagged in this controller and picked X input, it would be able to control the game with this here. Because the Pro 2 actually has a switch mode, so the Pro 2 controllers, fantastic 8-bit DO controllers, highly recommended. They have a switch in the back. One of the switches here is for switch mode. Basically, it mimics like a Steam or a Switch Pro controller. When that happens, it actually does the gyro here too. You know what? Maybe I will show that. It's kind of neat. So what we're going to do is put the controller into its switch mode function, tag it in, just press start, it connects right away. Then we're going to go into the switch mode gyro. I mean, I don't think it works the greatest, but pretty sure it works. And I guess it's kind of interesting to show that, hey, it works. We'll see where it's going to toss it now. Oh, tossed it up on the top screen now, I guess, because of the way that everything is sort of set up. Yeah, OBS, fun. So we're going to go here, start. Whatever, not really too concerned about this, just sort of wanted to get into the game again. So we're going to go in. But another proof of concept that if you wanted to get like an 8-bit DO controller, you want to mimic the gyro. Oh yeah, see. So lying flat works just like it would be like a 3DS. Tilt the controller up, all of a sudden you have the tilt controls going left and right. I mean, it's not the greatest. I mean, it's much better to just use the Steamdeck in this case. But yeah, I mean, as a proof of concept, works fine. Kind of neat. I mean, you don't even have to use that option, right? Because you can just go quit again. When you go quit, you can just go back into like X input, and then it's not going to mimic the gyro. It'll just mimic it, you know, like you would be doing anything else. So I think that's about like the more interesting part of the 3DS. So going back to, let's see, the other way that you can incorporate it. So I have things streaming to the Steam Deck. One of the other cool ways you can do is just all the handhelds have that option. So for example, if I wanted to play like Gameboy Advance, I could play it on TV just fine, you know, whatever. It's still really cool, of course. Of course. But spiel again. It's one of the cool things about not being in an arcade cabinet, because a lot of this stuff here just doesn't feel natural being in front of an arcade cabinet. Having like an actual home system like this is cool because I have a chair behind here, it's super comfortable. Just lean back into it, feels really nice, and you can actually play games like you would be playing it at home normally. Standing up in an arcade cabinet, and even playing with a controller, just, I don't know, to me it doesn't have the same feeling. So if you have the ability to do something like this, highly recommend you do. I mean, at this point it doesn't really matter what I'm playing, I just don't know what to load. Like, you know, you should get like so much stuff, and then you're just sort of like, oh crap, I don't know what to play. Sure, Earthworm Jim 2. So again, with additional apps, you can do the tweaks. For streaming onto Steam Deck, I didn't set that up yet, but I guess you could kind of do things like different color palettes for the Game Boy. But for now, what we're going to be doing is loading up Messen. This is what I use for the Steam Deck screen. Again, we hope that OBS isn't going to be messing with my scripting here. I don't think with this one it should, though. Nope, it did it fine. So on the stream, it should be in the bottom left there, what's on the Steam Deck, but you can see here that, I mean, the main screen's just black. I'm still thinking if maybe there's a way to like toss like an image or something on there in the meanwhile, but you see it runs really smooth. I mean, you can probably compare it to what's being captured in the bottom left to what's streaming on the Steam Deck. But yeah, you know, you got it set up here. So I could be walking around the house right now, because this is all wireless, right? I could just be sitting here, blah, 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 blah. It's super responsive. Like, I mean, it doesn't drop frames or anything. It's just fantastic. That's how you can leverage the Apollo, Sunshine, Steam Deck handheld to a setup like this. So you can just quit out of this. And then let's say if I wanted to do, you know, on the big screen, all I have to do is like, I don't even think I have to tag this in. I could probably just even use the Steam Deck as a controller. But a lot of emulators are sometimes finicky. Like, it's not just that they look at X input, they look at X input from this particular controller ID. It's ridiculous. But, you know, we can launch this under RetroArch or Visual Boy Advance. Oh, I even set up Visual Boy Advance too. So you have different options. You can toss that in. Yeah, I totally forgot that I set up Visual Boy. That probably would have worked better than Messen anyway. I think Visual Boy Advance is a better emulator. But having that, all these different emulators too, you can see that option to kind of like, you know, if something doesn't play something really well, not a big deal. You can try it in Messen, you can try it in Visual Boy Advance. If not, you can try it in RetroArch, which I think is another different core that uses in there. Pretty sure. I'm not even sure what core is used there. Oh, is this one of those games where there's like, we animated this, so now you're gonna have to watch? Can't skip through any of these screens. Yeah. Actually, I think it did. Oh, maybe I wonder if both controllers work right now. Could be. Yeah, no, it looks like because the Steam Deck is still tagged in, this is technically controller 1. So like I said, it's any X input controller, but I mean, like a Game Boy is literally one controller, right? So yeah, so now you're playing it on the big screen. And I mean, since I've already been showing this, I might as well show what I mean by like tweaks, in case you don't feel like watching other videos if you just stumbled onto this one. Like retro mode alternative, RetroArch. So this is going to be like a one-time run again. So now this is going to configure RetroArch to, in particular, run a nice shader and a different type of configuration. Now, with Game Boy, it doesn't exactly have options. Like this isn't just a shader. Like if you're going to be like PlayStation, you can actually do things like changing the way it outputs images. So like maybe no upscaling. Maybe you just want it to be like an original PlayStation. You can, you know, do things like additional apps, take out all the upscaling, take out any of the fanciness, and it just mimics a PlayStation. It'll run it for the one time. And then next time you don't have to worry about it, it'll just put it right back to the normal upscaled modes. So now if I run, I can run any of these RetroArch. So now that I configured RetroArch, it configures all these RetroArches. So if I want to grab like a 6-button controller, I can do that. If I want to grab an X input controller, I can do that. I'm also not too sure how RetroArch will take having the Steam Deck. I'm pretty sure it's going to see it as just an X input. I don't know, I guess we'll find out. But what you'll see here is the actual Game Boy-ness of this. So this is actually applying like the shader nicely, the pixel. If you want to play it like that, you know, why the hell not? I mean, you have that option, and you don't have to like alt tab. You don't have to, you know, take out your mouse and, you know, play around. Like you don't visually feel like you're on a computer. Everything is just nice and handled for you, and then cleaned up right afterwards. So yeah, it looks like it's seeing the Steam Deck as a controller. Yep. So this is still controller 1. But yeah, and now you're playing, you know, Earthworm Jim through here. Yeah. So that was just what I was there. Thought I'd show that off. So yeah, the cool systems that you can do Apollo Sunshine streaming with, or Game Boy. I mean, Game & Watch, I guess you could. I just didn't set up that one. PSP and Vita. PSP and Vita are actually really cool. I'll show Vita because I mean it's a Vita. It's kind of neat. I don't know what's a fun game. 99 Vitas. I don't know which games work and don't work on Vita. I think a lot of them are actually pretty well done. It's like a 3D one. Like I know Street Fighter, X Tekken and stuff fairly certain works. I think I have things like DLC installed. I think all these games have the DLCs installed. They're just hundreds and hundreds. MNOPQRST. There we go. Street Fighter X Tekken. I mean, this has to be emulated. I mean, you know, it's just cool. So again, this one doesn't have any configuration because the Vita, like, you don't really downscale Vita. I mean, I guess I could kind of do some cool stuff with it. But launch with, I just have Vita 3K Steam Deck. Oh, actually, with this one, I hope OBS doesn't mess with it. We'll see. Nope, looks like it's working fine. So now you have a Vita, and this feels a lot more cooler too, considering it's Vita because it has the touchscreen. Really sure the touchscreen works on this. Again, the main screen goes dark because, I mean, it's just streaming everything out to here. But it's really cool to have this option where you're just sort of playing it now on your Steam Deck. And it's really smooth. I mean, like, you can see here, it's just walk around the whole house, really. Just playing some Street Fighter X Tekken. Actually, I didn't even see if there was DLC characters there. I was curious myself, but whatever. Now let's move that mouse cursor out of the way. But yeah, look at the webcam right now. That's the most interesting part. It actually has all the stuff on it. But yeah, see, and there you go. You're, you know, playing on the Vita. And it's like having a portable Vita. Yeah, so that's kind of neat. Actually, I wonder... Just actually kind of curious here myself to see if characters are on there. Ah, damn, this A, B... Or is this... Ah, no! P-A-A-B! Another victim of it. Okay. Arcade. Arcade mode. DLC characters? Yeah, this looks like it's all DLC characters. Yeah, it's got like Dudley, Mega Man. I'm pretty sure these were all like DLC characters and stuff. Kinda neat! But you can set that up here too, so you can like set up DLC and all that on things like PSP. So again, the Vita is really cool. PSP, I mean, again, this is probably a little bit less visually entertaining now because it's just the same stuff over and over, but again, proof of concept of showing that this works. You can set it up. Another cool thing, you can actually see these themes in the background. Fantastic work. Cover box remastered. Highly recommend you download this. Super, super cool themes. Everything is just so unique and done. Customized really to every different selection. Again, I don't know what's a good game to launch. Sure, Castlevania. Additional apps and versions. This is what I mean by you can actually start doing things like retro mode. So what I mean by retro mode is that this is actually not going to just be a shader that's just tossed on that you can pick, right? Or things like that. Like retro mode is actually going to downscale, remove any fanciness. So it's basically the most bare bones. This is how a PSP would render things. I think that's applied to RetroArch and not PPS SPP, which is what I set up here for the Steamdeck screen. Again, you can have multiple emulators depending on what you want. RetroArch has its own funky things. You know, PPS SPP is a separate thing you can launch in case anything else has a problem. But you can launch it. And again, we take a look and see if OBS is going to be doing something wonky. I guess we'll find out. I guess so far it was only the... Was it the 3DS that was acting up? Oh, I can already hear what's going on in the background. Is that sometimes Launchbox won't stop the music playing in the background if you launch things too quickly. So if you're hearing the music in the background, yeah, that's just Launchbox. Like if I just quit now and then launched it again, it would probably be fixed. But yeah, I don't feel like quitting out of it right now and launching it again. So this is going to be upscaled and then streaming to the Steamdeck. Looking really great. And we just quit out of this. So yeah, again, PSP, another really cool thing to emulate. I don't think PSP had a touchscreen. Did it? It was just the Vita, I think. Yeah, that's another cool way that you can leverage it. Then of course, like Gameboy Advance, Game Boy. I guess I'll just show this really quick. I don't know. What's a fun game? Mega Man. Yeah, those are always great. Mega Man. Let's do like Mega Man 4. I don't know. Actually, I love the way the theme, like now that I'm here, like you can see like the game card goes plump, just tosses itself out there. I think that's super cool. But yeah, let's launch again now Mega Man 3. So again, additional apps. You can do things like green tint, grayscale, Game Boy Pocket, pixel grid, retro mode upscaled. You can do different options. So again, these are like the tweaking of the emulators. And launch with, I'm going to do... I don't think... Yeah, it says RetroArch, and I think that's actually correct. I actually updated some of these where, you know, it says RetroArch, it actually applies it to other emulators. Don't think, though, I did it on the Game Boy. Maybe something I revisit later. So another emulator. Oh yeah, so you could do like Visual Boy Advance. I think this is going to be emulating it like a Game Boy would, because I think that would be the most logical way you want to do it. You just want to have it like grayscale, like a Game Boy would be. But yeah, and then you have like a nice proper Game Boy doing stuff like Mega Man. I might add some tweaks to kind of make it, you know, add the color palette or like the green tint type stuff, but haven't done that yet. So for now, this is sort of how it works and how it launches. But still, yeah, super cool. See it running really well. So that's another way you can leverage an idea like this of incorporating Steamdeck or handheld portable, I guess, into your setups. What else can I show? I mean, like, everything else is sort of like samey. Gamegear. And I think this also uses... Oh, I love the way that looks. I always show Aladdin. Even for this. I think I'll launch Aladdin. Yeah. That's something I'll show later too. What this whole Bluetooth menu thing is for. So heads up, it's for like Nintendo Switch Online controllers. Really neat. I'll do another separate video for that. It's actually kind of unfortunate that you have to do it that way, but I'll explain in the future what that means. Let's do Messin. Which again, I mean, if Messin launched before in the proper screen, don't see why I wouldn't do it again now. Or it just might not want to do it. Let's try that again. There we go. So again, you can hear the music in the background. I think it's because I just relaunched this so quickly again. So now you're probably hearing that double music. But whatever, this is just to kind of show that Gamegear kind of works really well on this here too. I mean, it looks much better on a handheld than it does on a big screen TV in general. But yeah, I think that's about it. I think I will probably start to end this video because I'm not too sure what more there is really to show. Virtual Boy, I don't think I set that up because I mean, like, God, why? Yeah, I think those are the main places where I sort of leveraged it. There are maybe other ways that you can probably come up with to kind of leverage Steamdeck and follow Sunshine streaming to it. That's the way I have it right now. Yes, I'm going to be branching up these videos into be smaller segments, just focusing on certain things, rather than being like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours long. This one's already long enough anyway. So, that's it for this one. I'll talk to you later.